So here we are in mid-December, just a couple of weeks away from the end of a year I know many people will be glad to see behind us. It's been one for the record books for sure, with all of the things that we've had to deal with this year. Hi, this is Andrew with the Andrew Smith team at eXp Realty. And for my monthly market update for December, what I wanted to do is kind of just step back, kind of give an overview of the year, and then just a few indications of where we might be heading going into 2021 with regards to the real estate market. I know no one's got a crystal ball, but there's a few things that have been playing themselves out, which give us a good idea of where we are going to be going in the months ahead. So to start with, I record these videos every single week, trying to keep you updated on what's going on in the local market. If you like this type of content, you want to know when the next video comes out, please go ahead and hit subscribe and like this video directly below. Well, this winter, as it is right now, is shaping up to be one of the best winters for sales activity that there has been in a long time, based on the number of pending contracts that we are dealing with right now. Ask anybody that's been out in the market looking for a home, and they'll tell you that it's really, really hard. There's nothing for sale. There's multiple offers. There's bidding wars going on. And the interesting thing is we're seeing that at all price points. So looking back, I mean, 2020 started very, very strong. We came out of the gates really, really quickly. And we then kind of hit the pause button. The pandemic hit, everything kind of shut down completely. And everyone was unsure what was going to happen with the economy, what was going on. Businesses were closing, unemployment was skyrocketing. And the same was true for housing. We didn't know what was going to happen. And it's been surprising what has actually happened to housing. It has been one of the brightest spots in the overall economy. And it seems to be a result of two factors, which we'll get into a little bit later. One of them being interest rates, but the other one being the pandemic, and what resulted made brought a lot of buyers into the marketplace. There was a lot of people saying, hey, we're now doing school from home, we're now working from home for a lot of the days, if not all of the days of the week, and our house doesn't work, we don't have enough room, we need more. And also for entertainment purposes, they're not going out as much, people aren't spending as much money on vacations and trips and things like that, and are looking to have more of staycations going forward. I'm not saying travel is going to stop completely. If you've been in an airport recently, you'll know that's certainly not the case. But having larger backyards and pools and outdoor patios and homes with game rooms or media rooms is becoming incredibly popular. When we look at the housing market recovery index, we are at a point right now of 112.8. I know that doesn't mean much, but if we use 100 points as a baseline, back in early March, right before the pandemic hit, we were at 106.5. We dropped all the way down to 83.1, and now we've come all the way back up to 112.8. We did see a drop right around the time of the election, which isn't uncommon. Everyone kind of steps back, waits to see what's going to happen. And then people have kind of jumped back into the market since then. But with that in mind, for real estate, there has been some uncertainty in the year. With unemployment the way it went, a lot of people lost their jobs, and there was a lot of talk about there being a wave of foreclosures as a result of that. The number of mortgages that went into forbearance skyrocketed. I said all along that I didn't think the wave of foreclosures would be coming unless something unforeseen happens with regard to the economy. I went through the last foreclosure crisis. I know that banks don't want to own homes. They don't want that. They're going to try and do what they can to work things out. And the programs got off to a rough start. I mean, they were delaying payments for 90 days, but then lump sums would be due at the end of 90 days. How was this going to work? What was this going to mean for all of those people? And it basically just needed time to work itself out. Now, obviously, it's not perfect where it's at, but the way it has played out is better than many projected when we started all of this. So, at the height of it, all the way back in May, towards the end of May, we had about 4.76 million mortgages in active forbearance. That number has fallen all the way down to 2.79 million as of the end of November, which is actually up slightly from mid November. Now, obviously, different restrictions have gone into place in different states. And even though total unemployment has dropped, or unemployment rate has dropped to 6.7%, the number of new filings increased last week, which was a little bit of a surprise to some. And that's just the result of businesses being closed once again, and some of the seasonal work not happening, especially in retail and other things that it has in the past in all areas of the country. I realize it's different as you go from coast to coast. You know, the vaccines arrived though. It's a ray of hope or ray of light for many people, um, that the end is in sight, so to speak. So it's going to be interesting to see what impact that has over the next couple of weeks. But for all of the mortgages that did go into forbearance, where are they now? Well, upon exiting from forbearance, 54.6% of those mortgages have been paid in full. Now, I don't mean paid off, but 30.6% of the mortgages, they actually made, or mortgages, those people made their mortgage payments during the forbearance. So they entered into a forbearance, but actually didn't need it. It was kind of like a fail-safe plan. They may have lost their job or had temporary unemployment. They weren't sure what was going to happen. So they went ahead and entered into a forbearance program, but actually didn't need it. 7.1% of the loans were paid off, and 16.9% of the past due payments were brought current. Okay, so 54.6% are performing loans that were either paid off or are current again. 30.7% of all of those mortgages have worked out something with the banks. There's either a loan deferral in place or a loan modification has been approved. Only 14.7%, and I say only because I know that's still a large number, but nowhere near the number it was. 14.7% are still in trouble. 12.8% have no loss mitigation plan in place. They don't know what's going to happen. The foreclosure process has started. And 1.9% have entered deed in lieu's, short sales, or they do have repayment plans worked out with the bank. But 12.8% are the number we're watching here, because we don't know what's going to happen with those. Now, again, it's a lot. I just went through a whole bunch of numbers there. If you'd like to see these slides and the breakdown of this, I've included a link to the related blog post in the comments directly below. But the number of foreclosures is certainly not going to be the wave that was being expected. But if those properties do come to market, it's likely that they'll be absorbed quickly. Again, the market is absolutely starving for inventory now, and it doesn't look as though there will be any price declines whatsoever as a result of those forbearances and or potential distressed property sales. As a matter of fact, since emerging, or since the main shutdown of the pandemic, that lasted for about 90 days back in March, April, May, since coming out of that, home prices have actually really started to take off. The pace of appreciation has been accelerating. Craig Lazar, who's director of S&P for Dow Jones Indices, he said housing prices were notably, and I'm tempted to say very strong, in September. The National Composite Index gained 7% relative to its level a year ago. An accelerated growth in home prices, and September's results are quite strong. And we're seeing that. So why? Are home prices going up too quickly? Could this be a repeat of what we went through before? And the answer is no, I really don't think so. I'm going to link to a video I did just last week on Are Home Prices Rising Too Fast? That's also there if you want to take a greater look at that. But the big difference is inventory. I mean, it's supply and demand. Again, going back to the same comment, inventory is really, really low across the country at virtually every price point. But demand, because of low interest rates and because of changing housing needs, is really high. High demand, low supply forces pricing to go up. And that's exactly what we're seeing right now. In addition, when you go back to the frenzy, if you like, that was in the early 2000s, remember a lot of that was caused by very creative mortgage programs and loans that don't exist today. Everything today is pretty much straightforward, 30-year fixed or FHA, VA loans. There's none of the crazy loan programs that there were back then. In addition, back in that time period, normal economic laws seemed to get thrown out of the window. Home prices were going up even though inventory was up. There was actually becoming an oversupply. That should have forced prices down, and it didn't. Prices kept going up during that time period. So, which is not the case now, as I just pointed out. So, what does that mean for us as we sit here at the end of 2020 going forward? Interest rates for mortgages have now reached, it's either the 13th or the 17th record low for the year. They're running right now at about 2.71%. Although no one knows for sure right now, the projected rate for most of 2021 is going to hover right around 3%. That's where most of the analysts are projecting that interest rates are going to stay. So, not quite as low. They'll probably tick up, but we're only talking a quarter. If that, they're probably going to stay exactly where they are for the time being and then start to tick up from there. But don't see them going much of an increase whatsoever at all. Home prices, however, I do think will start to taper off with regards to the rate of appreciation. You're not going to see 10, 12, 15, 18%. It's going to cause a affordability issue even with the low interest rates, but I don't think we're going to see that. And the only reason I say that is because home builders are building like crazy. So they're working as hard as they can to get more inventory to the market. Also, as you start to see economic certainty return, you start to see this vaccine get rolled out, you start to see those events happen, it's highly likely that many of the sellers that have been on the sideline, just kind of watching and waiting to see what happens, I think some of those homes are going to come to market to help ease the inventory shortage that we've been experiencing. Danielle Hale is the chief economist at Realtor.com. And I'm going to leave you with this with regards to her expectations. And she says, we expect home sales in 2021 to come in 7% higher than 2020 levels, following a more normal seasonal trend and building momentum through the spring and sustaining the pace in the second half of the year. While home sales are expected to lose some momentum over the last months of 2020, although that hasn't shown any sign of happening yet, the shallower than normal seasonal slowdown creates a higher base of activity leading into 2021. As vaccines for the coronavirus become broadly available to the public and economic growth reflects the resumption of more normal patterns for consumer spending, home sales gain even more in the second half of the year. So again, she says there's still going to be some uncertainty as we head into 2021, but as things start to settle down, the more normal seasonal pattern that we see should start to reemerge as things slowly return back to normal. So hopefully that helps. A little bit of a recap there and gives you an idea of where we think things are going to go and how we're wrapping up, so that you can make the best decision for you and your family with regards to your housing needs going forward. If you have any questions or would like to schedule some time with me, please see the link directly below. I'm always happy to answer your questions, and I'm here to provide the information to help you make that best decision for you going forward.